Joining me on left, right and centre, a very special guest, somebody who's very closely worked with Indian history, somebody who is very close to Indian spiritualism and perhaps is somebody responsible for taking it to millennials and youngsters as well. Amish Tripathi is joining us live from Ayodhya. Amish ji, thanks very much for joining us on left, right and centre tonight. My first question to you, as a historian, as somebody who's worked so closely, with Indian epics, with Indian scriptures, how do you look at this moment? How will history remember January the 22nd?
Oh, this is one of those moments which will change history. That one can sense even now. I've just arrived in Ayodhya just an hour and a half back. Actually, I'm speaking to you from my hotel room. The city has been transformed, and of course, I've come to Ayodhya regularly. I prayed at the Ram Janmabhoomi ji even when Ram Lala's Murti was just under that tarpaulin shed, which was very depressing to see. But I have prayed out there as well.
Yes.
I've just recorded for a documentary a few months back. At that time, I saw the transformation that had already happened in Ayodhya, but it was a work in process. And now what you see, the transformation that has happened within the city. But that is only at a very prosaic level, the infrastructure changes that have happened. At a civilisational level, at a historical level, what is happening is path breaking. Something like this has almost never happened in human history, where a pagan idol worshipping culture has managed to rebuild its temple once it was destroyed and another worship place built on top of it. As
Yes.
you know, through the past 2000 years, there was only one direction in the movement of history. Pagan idol worshipping cultures usually just died out. Their temples were destroyed and they usually just died out. They were killed. This is one of those rare moments where a temple has been rebuilt.
Yes.
And if you think about the ceremonies
Said, Amish, that looking at it from a civilizational perspective, not looking at it from a religious perspective or perhaps from the prism of faith, but looking at it as spiritualism. Spiritualism is such an important part of India. It anchors us as Indians. So, looking at it from that lens, why is it so important for Indians to, in a sense, connect with, our civilizational past, whether it is the Ramayana or whether it is, our civilizational past at large? Why is it so important for Indians today to sort of reconnect with that reality?
This connects us to all that it means to be Indian. India is the only pre-Bronze Age culture that is still alive till today. What does that mean in a real sense? It means the culture that we follow, the stories that animate us, the rituals that we practice. That's what defines us as a community. And Lord Ram, regardless of the religion you practice, the region you're from, the language you speak, Lord Ram is in a way our eternal king, the eternal king of India. And it's not just about worshipping Lord Ram at his worship place. It is about learning his philosophies, learning
Yes.
how he drove a kingdom forward, how he worked for the welfare of his common people. He was
Yes.
one of those kings who set up the model of that a king puts his country, his land and his people above everything else, including his own family.
Yes.
That
And
was a
Amish, while
radically
you're on the
different
subject of the
model.
philosophy of Ram, very quickly, my last question to you also, that there is perhaps some amount of political baggage also that is, and not just political baggage in general that is, somehow attached to, Ayodhya. How do we look at it positively and how do we sort of be optimistic about our future here on?
Look, politics, I mean, I don't deride politics. Politicians have to do what they must.
And historic
India is not
baggage
an
as well.
easy-
There's historical
Yeah.
baggage as well attached to it in a sense.
Yes, I mean, look, India is not an easy country to run. And I have respect for Indian politicians who somehow have to find consensus in what is a very rebellious people, very difficult to manage people, let's be honest.
Yes.
Yeah. The historical baggage began with foreign invaders. In the documentary that I'm making, we speak of these foreign invaders, Babur and Mir Baqi, K.K. Mohammed, an Indian archaeologist, an Indian Muslim archaeologist, whose work helped prove in the court of law
Yes.
that there was indeed a temple out there. He said very beautifully that Babur and Mir Baqi were foreigners. They're from Uzbekistan. I'm an Indian Muslim. I have nothing to do with them. this should not be seen as a Hindu-Muslim issue.
Okay.
It's an Indian foreigner issue. That's the way it should be seen.
That's
And
an
it's
interesting
essentially a
perspective
setting
there,
right
Amishji.
of a foreign invader's crime on India.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for joining us with that. And perhaps, as you said, India is not a very easy country. It's and we must sort of take forward that multiculturalism and diversity and be optimistic about, this moment as we gear up for that consecration ceremony. Amish Tripathi, thanks very much for joining us on Left, Right and Centre tonight.